Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So still in that upper left corner, as this is a new project, it'll take me a bit to work my way out from there. And we got some leaves, and there's a bit of an evergreen branch that's going to be coming up at some point in the not too distant future. So today I'm kind of working on a bigger block of color here. There's a lot of sort of black in this upper left corner. Like I said, this project is a bit on the darker end of the color spectrum than my last one, which was very bright. The peacocks, although there are some sections that are a little brighter too. The like the water. It actually calls for the special Krennic thread, which is like sparkly, but I didn't feel like working with it because I've heard it can be a pain. I used a metallic thread once and I swore never again, so I replaced it with the B5200, the winter white from DMC, which is a little bit shinier, so it will give it that bit of sparkle without being too much of a pain to work with. That's the one they recommend. And I double checked, there was no, I don't think there's any white in this piece. Yeah, not any plain white, it's all the winter white, because Heaven and Earth Designs, they what you might call it, they label it as 1, which some people mixed up with O1, including yours truly. And I stitched like 10,000 stitches with the wrong colors, so that's one to watch for. I went on all my subsequent Heaven and Earth Designs patterns. I then later went through and everything that said 1, I edited the legend so it would say white, and that way I will not be making that mistake again. Hopefully. So as you can see, a fair amount of black here and kind of a bigger block. So I would say reaching 200 stitches should be no problem today, maybe even past that. Oh, the last video I made was a new tutorial video. People asked for one showing how I begin a new project with my colorflow stitching method. And I sat down and I checked all my equipment like 3 times over because, you know, you only begin a project once, and it'll probably be a couple of years before I do that again. So, and I made sure everything was working. Then when I went to go make a video, at first the video I had made didn't show up in my phone camera memory. So I just about had a heart attack because I thought, no, I don't have an opportunity to do that again. It's gone. But no, it just turned out that my computer, I had told it to trust, or my phone to trust that computer, and it didn't register the first time. So I had to do it a second time, and then it was fine. So I was glad, because I was, like I said, I was like, no, I spent almost 2 hours making that, or over an hour making that, and it was all gone. And like I said, not something I can redo easily. You know, I can do a tutorial anytime in the middle of a project, but you only get one beginning for a project. Well, I suppose unless you have to restart like I did with my peacock when I did that wrong color. But yeah, it's all done now. There is a video up. I removed all the grid lines, and it hasn't been washed and ironed or anything yet. I'm still going to do that, but I don't know how long I'll take to do that. We will see. Usually what I do is I take it with me to the fabric store before I wash and iron it, and pick out the fabric, and then another new skein of thread here, and then yeah, when I'm going to assemble it, that's when I do the washing and ironing. But that takes a long time. So like, I find the wash and iron and dry and iron, that takes me pretty much of a day, and then the finishing of it takes another day, And so it won't be right away that I get that done. But I managed to finish. I thought it was going to be sometime mid-May, so I was pretty excited. I finished mid-April. Now I work 1 day less per month, so it gives me a little extra stitching time. And for those of you who follow my private Instagram account, yeah, I'm sorry, I have not had any time to do any work on my firefly piece for the last couple of months. I've just been busy with other stuff, but I am hoping to get some done this month because my workplace will be closed for a week for a holiday, so I'll have some extra stitching time then. So I'm hoping to get a bit done because, like I said, I usually try to stitch a bit on it every month, but the last couple of months have just been, I've been very focused on finishing my main project because I was getting very excited to finish it. So but I hope to put some work in on it in the latter part of this month. Okay. This project is exactly 200,000 stitches, so that makes the math much easier. So if I manage to do 8,000 a month, that's 4%. My last project was bigger, so it was like 2.5%. So I would say 4% per month is doable. So that gives me, you know, just over 2 years, because that'd be 48% a year. So, but there are some months I do manage more than, say, 8,000. So we'll see. Hi guys, I'm back. Apologies, I had to take a phone call. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, so it scared the heck out of me, but it was one of the numbers that I have programmed to ring through. It's the one of the other ladies who does, who works, oh, whoops, I forgot actually. I have to go the other way so that I can park in that upper right hand corner. Anyway, she's one of the other ladies who works part-time, and she's asking if we could switch days next month for 1 week because yeah, her husband has some days off then, and so she wants to spend it with him, and I'm pretty flexible. So anyway, so I have her as one of the people who can ring through because, of course, in case there's a work emergency. So yeah, scared the heck out of me, but yeah, I have like my best friend who's an emergency contact can ring through, my sister can ring through, and of course my husband and son can ring through just in case there's an emergency. But yeah, I was not expecting that, so it scared the heck out of me. Oh dear. Yeah, and she always says, you know, if you ever need a day that I'm working, you know, ask if we can switch, we can do that. And, but I have no life, so. I like my routine. I sit and stitch. I watch TV, I hang out with friends, you know, and do all the other stuff that we need to do, cooking and cleaning and all that. So that's okay. Boring is good. I remember there was one time I kind of thought, man, I feel like my life is boring. And then, like, I swear, the next week I found a breast lump. And thankfully it turned out to be benign. It was fine. It was fibrous tissue, so. But I had to go through a whole, you know, getting a mammogram, and they did a needle biopsy and all that. And then I had to wait for the results. They did an ultrasound. I had to wait for the results. I had to go back 6 months later just to double check that nothing had grown or changed, which it hadn't, thankfully. And but I thought to myself, okay, note to self, never think your life's boring, because yeah, that is. Like they say, there's an old curse about may you live in interesting times. There's a reason for that. Oh. But yeah, I'm pretty laid back. I used to say when we retired, I wanted to do a lot of travel, but I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more and more of a homebody. Just, I want to sit in my comfy chair and stitch. Read my books. Maybe go for a nice walk around the neighborhood when it's, you know, sunny and pretty and not snow on the ground. Sometimes we'll walk to the frozen yogurt shop. Well, technically it's the ice cream shop, but they also sell frozen yogurt. But only one, which kind of sucks because I can eat frozen yogurt, but I can't eat ice cream. It's not lactose because I can have cheese, butter, like I can have most dairy products. It's just actual milk and cream that it makes me very, very tired after I eat them. I'm fine, and then the next morning when I wake up, it feels like I've been sedated. Like I had that once. I had to get up to get my son to school, and then as soon as he left for school, I went back to bed and I slept for 3 hours, which I can never do. But that's the effect of it on me. I was eating something that I was told was in a yogurt sauce, which again, I can eat because I think it has the bacteria in it and I can digest it. And it was not, it was milk. And I, like I said, learned that the hard way when I woke up the next morning. Was like, oh my gosh, I can't even open my eyes hardly. So they suspect it's the milk protein and not like the milk sugar. So, which is why, like I said, cheese, or if something is baked long enough in the oven, I can handle it. Like if there's a casserole with milk in it, but it's baked in the oven for at least 20 minutes, I can eat that and be just fine. But yeah. There is one milk that I can have. We have a couple grocery chains that sell it. It's called A2 milk. So they said that most cows produce milk with the A1 protein, which can be harder to digest. The A2 protein is easier to digest. And that one I can have, even if it's not cooked. But I kind of lost my taste for drinking milk because I cut it out, sheesh, a long time ago when I was a teenager. My mom finally figured out that maybe it was milk that was giving me problems. So we cut it out of my diet, and it made a huge difference. Yeah, I thought I was so tired, partly because I was a teenager and a night owl and, you know, wanted to stay up late. But no, it was also the milk was affecting me. So I'm just glad I can have cheese because I would be very sad. Cheese is delicious. And butter. And yeah, like I said, frozen yogurt. So there's a, what you might call it, Marble Slab Creamery. They used to sell about 4 different flavors of frozen yogurt along with the ice cream, but it's not very popular, and so now there's only one. Usually it's cheesecake or vanilla, and they have a couple of vegan ones, which I suppose I could eat too, but I stick to the frozen yogurt. I was kind of sad. We had a chain called Menchie's, and it was actual frozen yogurt shop, and it was so good. So they had, it was all frozen yogurt, and it was one of those you make your own kind of places. So, and then you pay by the weight, right? You pay by the ounce or whatever it was, and we loved it. We went there like every couple of weeks, and then they closed down, and they were closed for about a year, and then a new, like, local owners bought the shop to open up their version of it. So it wasn't owned by the same chain, but same idea it was going to be. And so we went, but after the first month, they like doubled their prices. And so we started going less often. And then I remember there was, I think it was May long weekend, or perhaps it was July long weekend, but it was one of the, you know, warmer summer months long weekends. And we thought, well, let's go get frozen yogurt. They were closed. And I was just like, are you guys, like, you're a specialty shop for where people are going to want to go when it's hot, right? Ice cream, frozen yogurt, and they were closed. And it wasn't due to an emergency. And yeah, they closed permanently pretty quickly after that. So, unfortunately. And then, yeah, that space has since become something else. I can't even remember what, but yeah, I was sad because Marble Slab is kind of similar in their mixings, but I liked that one because you could do it yourself. So you know, you could really customize it to, if you wanted only one little piece of pineapple in there, you know, you could throw in just one piece. And yeah, like I said, because you paid by the weight. But, yeah, they're still around, but just not where I live. I would love it if they would reopen a place, but probably not. We are getting a Costco though, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's still under construction. They said, oh, it was going to open like summer of 2025, but I don't think it even has all 4 walls up yet. So that's definitely not happening, but it is confirmed. They are, you know, they've poured the foundation and they're now putting it up. There's even a sign saying that it's coming soon. So, but I said, I don't think we're going to go in for the first month or so that it's open because it's going to be overrun. People have been hoping for a Costco here for, oh, sheesh, 30 years maybe? Yeah, we've been here for 20. It'll be 20 years this summer. Which is hard to believe that time has gone that fast. But I always know how long it was because it was the year before our son was born. I was actually like 5 weeks pregnant or something when we moved. I was sick as a dog. All right, so this color here, just looking, I don't have a thread from the top yet. All right, so I'll carry this one to the side and around here, and I'll start a new one for the ones down below later when I get to it. There's going to be a fair amount of black stitching. Over the next bit. I said 8,000 goal, but I'm thinking around 9,000 might be kind of doable. We'll see. I'll set it for 8, and if I hit 9, then, you know, great. But, you know, 8,000 stitches a month on my main piece gives me around, you know, just under 100,000 per year. And that is what I managed sort of the last year or so. But I am working less, so there's that too. We'll see. I started in August last year, and then, yeah, until March. Because, like I said, it was just a maternity leave position, so. My mom did that a few times. She worked in office work, so she took a couple mat leave positions a few times. She was hoping it would lead to full-time, but it didn't. She worked in dispatching. And then for a while she was, for several years, she was a relief substitute receptionist for elementary schools. So when the office admin person had to call in sick, then she was one of the people called in. Because, yeah, you don't just need substitute teachers, you also need substitute support staff. Yeah, I took a similar office admin course as her later when I was a young adult. It's funny because, yeah, I remember my mom having to take her typing tests on typewriter, and when I went, it was computer, but there were a few ladies who were there getting their certification who had learned to type on a typewriter, and you could tell because they hit the keys a lot harder than the people who had learned on the computer keyboard. And it was funny because our teacher was telling us how in the old days, because now when we did typing tests, the typing program did it for you. So she would say start, but it would count precisely from your first keystroke exactly 5 minutes or whatever how long the test was for. And then you would, and then it would stop when it reached exactly 5 minutes. Because she's saying back in their days when they had, they were doing it on typewriters, obviously there, doesn't have an internal mechanism to do the time. So she said she'd stand there like with basically like a gong and, hit it, start, and everybody start typing. And then when the 5 minutes was up, she'd stand there and boom, hit it again. And everyone had to stop. And so this one kind of gave you like, she would say, when you stopped at your 5 minutes, still stay silent for about 20 seconds, because some people might have started slightly later than you so that you don't distract them. And then it would calculate and say that your, speed words per minute. And you had to get, I can't remember how much it was now. I think it was 60 words per minute, 100% correct 3 times. You had to get 3 perfect typing at that speed to get your certification. So most of us got it no problem, but there was one lady who, she had a tough time. And I remember when she finally got her 3rd one, she jumped up and cheered afterwards. It was funny because someone I know said they actually, because we would have this big, the typing program came with this big, almost like an easel shape kind of thing, like an A-frame that you would set up by your computer. And that's what you were recreating with your typing. And, anyway, she said that she actually sat down before typing tests and she would count it. So 60 words per minute for 5 minutes is exactly right. And she would count to the word and put a mark on it, and she would type and then she would quit. So that way, if she made any mistakes, right, it would mar your typing test. So that way, if she made it before that, she would just stop and she wouldn't type anymore so that she wouldn't risk making any mistakes. And I didn't find out until later. I'm like, oh, that's clever. I should have thought of that, but I didn't. So we had to take basic bookkeeping and stuff like that. Yeah, I just took the automated office assistant program, which did not include bookkeeping, but we still had to do a very basic intro to bookkeeping kind of course. And they actually made us learn old style with like pencil and paper and putting down the debits and credits that way. And I cannot remember it now. It's been a long time. And it was funny because I remember I was trying to figure it. I couldn't get it to balance. And I was working on it for days and just so frustrated. And then finally my husband says, let me take a look. He doesn't even know what he's doing, right? When it comes to bookkeeping, he looks and he says, I think you missed this one. And I'm like, how the heck did you find that? I've been looking for that for, days. And he's like, well, sometimes it just takes a fresh pair of eyes, right? Oh, I mean, I was grateful he found it, but it was also like, come on, right? You just walk in, you don't even know what you're doing, and boom. Oh, dear. Yeah, because of course now you have, you have software that does all that stuff for you, but they still wanted us to know how the whole basics worked. And if you followed me for a while, you'll know I'm not a math type person, so it was not fun. That's why I wasn't taking the bookkeeper course. I was just taking the office assistant course. So after I graduated that, I worked at a newspaper for a couple of years. And then I worked for a security company for a few years after when my son was about 7. I did that for a few years, and then, they let me go like the year before COVID hit. And then now I'm working at the doctor's office, so. Yeah, I was asking my son, did they take typing lessons in school? And they didn't, which I was surprised. I mean, everything's computers now. We had to take typing. And I don't know if they still have the Mavis Beacon programs, but that's what we had. And I remember there was a game where you had a conveyor belt that was with stuff, and so you had to type to keep things from falling off the conveyor belt. You know, so when you typed correctly, it would slow down, and when you made mistakes, it would speed up, and you had to try and keep everything from falling off the end. My anxiety did not like that. And then there was one they had, and it was driving, and every time you made a mistake, a bug would hit your windshield, and it would make a little beeping noise. And if you got too many bugs, then you couldn't see the car crash kind of thing, and then you lost. And some people liked the beeping noise. So there you were trying to type properly, and there's people beside you all making it go beep, beep, beep on purpose. It was very obnoxious. Yeah, so I don't know if they've updated that, if that program is still around, but that was sort of the gold standard program of the 80s and 90s. Every school had it. That is a knot. We don't want that. There we go. Got that to pull free. You can see where it was. Kind of left a kink in the thread there. So I'm just kind of looking ahead. So I'm going to go far down as 70 rows eventually, but kind of decide. Sometimes I will sort of stop, do some stuff and fill in, and then drop down and kind of work in sections, just sort of sometimes where there's a color change, but sometimes just where I feel like making a break. So I generally tend to work about 50 to 60 column stitches across, so 5 or 6 of these big squares, and then I move the frame over, and then 60 to 70 rows. The first 2 rows or 2 passes will be 70 stitches each, and then all the subsequent ones will be 60 rows, because I was left with a remainder of 20 rows, so I added them to the top. And I printed out my little mock-up picture, and as you can see, I drew the lines across it in paint as to where I will be making those passes. Someone did that in the Heaven and Earth Designs Facebook group. They gridded where the pages were, so you knew what you were stitching where. And I don't stitch by page, but I stitch by pass, so same kind of idea. Basically, the picture, you make the picture the same number of pixels as the finished piece will be, right? So if it's, right, this one, which is 400 by 500 stitches, it's 400 by 500 pixels kind of thing, and then just draw a line where it's supposed to be, either where you want to make it or where the page break is. Some people still prefer to stitch. You can turn your page breaks on in Pattern Keeper. Some people still prefer to stitch by page, or of course, there's people who prefer to stitch from paper. So yeah, it's kind of nice. You can see exactly what you'll be working. So this one, we won't get any of the deer in the first pass. It will be all background. So it's leaves and trees, and there's a bit of a waterfall in the background that's kind of out of focus. And then the next pass will get the first of the deer's antlers. Well, speaking of that, I learned today, and so I was reading one of those bathroom reader books, that the difference between horns and antlers is that horns are permanent and antlers get shed and replaced every year. So I didn't know. I always used those terms interchangeably. I didn't know that they actually were different things. So it looks like a buck and a doe in this picture. So yeah, we won't get to the deer until the second pass, and we won't get to the deer's face until the third pass. It'll just be a bit of his antlers. Well, most of his antlers will be in the top, or in the second pass. And then the third pass is where the actual deer will start to show up. Just double checking with my grid lines I've done the correct number of rows here, and I have. So like I said, this is a big section, so a big block of color in this section, so it'll zip by pretty quickly. Black. This is one of the colors I bought on a cone, since it is used a lot. It's a 500 gram cone, so it'll last me a lot. I think they said it's equal to like 280 of the regular skeins or something like that, but it's a lot. I think I estimated, even with all my projects, I probably only use about half of it. Yeah, Heaven and Earth Designs used to do material packs. They've phased that out now, but I remember they showed a picture of the room where they did it, and just seeing all those great big cones of every single color was like so satisfying. They actually sold off those cones because, yeah, they're no longer doing, the only physical stuff they're selling now is paper charts, I believe. They said they're no longer going to be doing the diamond painting canvases, because I think they said the glue that was used was being discontinued or something. They're no longer doing fabric, and they're no longer doing material packs, so they're just doing pattern charting and charting services kind of thing now. So and I believe she said they're moving too, so I'm not sure if they'll have a physical storefront anymore or not. Probably not. Yeah, so that was like in the last year they sold off all their supplies, so yeah, some people bought some bolts and things that were off of them that were still full. So that up there. Black is the most used color in this pattern, as you can see. It's almost 17,000 stitches of it is black. But I really got it for my Ocarina of Time piece, because I think that one has like 150,000 stitches. It actually called for 939, but DMC didn't have it on a cone. I don't know why. And so I just thought I'll just change it to black, because honestly it was very similar. And I don't know, black to me just feels more stained glass than navy blue. that's the look of it. So it's my project and I can, right? So yeah, I still got a ways to go before I add any color to that one. I'm doing all the black background. I'm not doing all like the actual detail of the black work in the windows yet. I'll do that when I do the colors at the same time. But I'm doing all the background. So yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years, just over, and I'm about 50,000 stitches in now, something like that. So I probably have another 50,000 to go before that background will be completed. So it's going to be a while. So I plan to stitch this one, the Deer Creek. And once I'm done this, the next one I have planned is the Twilight Cottage, which is artwork by Thomas Kincaid and also charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And that piece of fabric is also ready to go. Yeah, I like to grid ahead because gridding can be really tedious. So I get everything set up, and when I sew on grid lines, I kind of do one grid line a night. And then that way, usually takes a few months, but it's done so that when it's time to start my next project, I have the fabric ready to go. Because yeah, I did that once where I did all the gridding, and it was so tedious. It was driving me crazy, but I did want it done because I know for my own sake, I don't like to stitch without one. See, it takes time, but I feel it saves me time in the long run because I make fewer mistakes. And also, that prevents the horror of running out of fabric where you thought you measured it correctly, but you didn't. If I stitch the whole grid on to begin with, I know it fits. Because at the end, I'll sit there and count to double check that I have the right number of big squares. Some people like to grid as they go too, and that totally works as well. That's just my preference to get it all out of the way. Yeah, I didn't expect to have this much black here, but I guess it's very shadowy up in this upper left-hand corner. I think it's probably the darkest part of this whole pattern is kind of concentrated. Yeah, mostly up there and then at the very bottom. I love being able to zoom in and out. I used to not stitch these sort of big blocks of color on camera, but some people requested it, so they said they like to see how much progress I could make. So, and now I do. Usually I'm around 100 stitches by this point, but closing in on 200 already. Here. The only thing with big blocks of color is I do have to be careful not to overdo it. So I could keep stitching, but I'm gonna take a break and change colors for now. Okay, so let's look at that one. Oh dear. Pardon me. Okay, I don't have any leftover pieces right now because I'm pretty new into this piece here. I'm probably going to work, because of the way it kind of forms, kind of ribs almost through the black here. I will probably end up with multiple threads and then some leftovers. Okay, we've got a... Oh, now it's gone. There was a loop there that I was going to pull free, but it just slid right out. Oh, good. Save me the trouble. So I often say the little breaks of changing colors, it makes a difference too. My arms keeps me from getting sore. So next time I stitch with you, I'll try to work on an area that's a little more colors. So hopefully that'll be interesting. Once again, the colors are going to start kind of going this way for a bit. I'm probably going to follow them rather than fighting them. In the end, it'll all look the same when it's all filled in, right? So I can see I have another strand up there too. So yeah, when the colors kind of are spread out like this, I can end up with more than one thread. Oh, dear me. So my estimate is, I would say April of 2028 is my guess for this one. We'll see. I was saying for a while that I was hoping to be done by Easter, by last one of this year, and I was pretty close to that. I did stitch it, a lot of it, over Easter weekend. I didn't get it finished then, but I definitely did work a lot on it. All right, I think I can get a few more stitches out of that strand, so I will. Actually, I'll just carry on with it for now. Oh, look at that. I'm past 200 now. Like I said, there was a lot of one color, so it goes pretty quickly here. So I'm going to do another strand there. This thread card is a little too big. Didn't want to fit nicely in my working tray there. Yeah, I didn't cut them perfectly the same size, just close enough. Definitely not as much in the blue area of the color wheel on this pattern. My last one had quite a lot of blue and quite a lot of pinks and purples. This is kind of the opposite. This is more earthy kind of colors. Oops, sorry guys. Well, which makes sense. This is kind of a woodland scene, so it makes sense that the colors are more earthy. The other one was more of a seaside, and a bright garden. Oops. I readjusted all the bolts on my my floor stand there, so the part that rests on the floor is not exactly where I expected it to be, so I bonked it with my foot. Everything had gotten kind of compressed backwards, so I set it back up to where it kind of normally was. So I will extend a little bit past, because like I said, the colors are starting to kind of go that way in this area, so I'm just going to follow it. So as you can see, the black kind of goes across quite a few squares, but I kind of break it up where the other colors kind of intersect and just where I feel like to. So. So who knows, maybe by the next time I stitch with you all, I will have reached the bottom of this pass. This is row 50 here, and like I said, I am working down to row 70 and across. That would be not correct. All right, so I think I'm going to take a break there because, like I said, with stitching all of one color, or a lot of one color, my arms are getting kind of sore and I need a break and to stretch and move around. So, but well over 200 today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you here next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.